All right, guys, welcome back to the Left of Center podcast. I am Ben Knight.
I'm Rob Roise.
And this is episode 2, Rob.
Episode number 2.
This is episode number 2. And we want to thank you guys so much for your kind words on Facebook, on Twitter, and the reviews on iTunes. Everything's been great.
We love all feedback. And we got all kinds of feedback, but we love it all. And so all of you guys, thank you.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, there's really no reason for you to listen to us.
Absolutely
not. I mean, we're not professional athletes. We're not actors. We're musicians, but we're not famous musicians.
We can't figure this out.
No, I mean, there's really no reason for you to listen to us. So hopefully you've been enjoying it, and it seems like you have been. So we're gonna keep doing it.
Yes.
You know, we weren't necessarily not gonna do it if you didn't enjoy it, but this kind of reinvigorates.
What it does is it makes me think that we don't have to apologize all the time. Like, we don't have to come in here like, man, guys, we're super sorry that we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, and that's, we were a little bit self-deprecating in the first one, and a couple people commented on that, and you know what? You're exactly right. But it was more just okay, we're going to go ahead and get this stuff out of the way now. That way, later on, once we start making people angry or something, we don't have to apologize anymore.
That's exactly right, because we know us better than by far the majority of you do, and we know why we're self-deprecating, and you have just yet to find out.
Exactly. Like, you don't understand why I'm just like, nobody likes me, and I smell funny, and I don't have any friends, and my dog doesn't even like me. In fact, he doesn't like me so much. I don't even own a dog. But it's been awesome. It's been phenomenally great. And actually, we had a few people ask us about how the pop challenge is going, or soda, depending on where you're coming from. It's actually going pretty well. Actually, Rob, how's it going?
Well, I have, since we put out the first podcast, we made a pact, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time now, Ben and I did, that, okay, we're not like super big guys or anything like that, but just as the older we get, we'd just rather just trim up a little bit. And so our weakness, each of us, is soda. Love it. But we had a pact that we made actually between the time that Ben picked me up at my house in his car, when we were on our way over to the studio here to record our first podcast, and he said, "Hey, Rob, I've got a pact." And so we're like, all right, let's make this pact. We'll even talk about it on the podcast. And so we made this pact. Okay, no sugar beverages we didn't put a time limit on it, because I think I interrupted him before he got through with telling me about the whole pact. So I was kind of excited, like, yeah, man, let's do it. And so from what I can understand, it's like for the rest of our lives or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm already starting to suck at it, though, because I actually had to make an addendum. I was like, all right, so we'll do this thing, but I still need to drink juice or something that has sugar in it. And so it really hasn't been helpful. Like, the only thing I haven't had is carbonation for the most part. So I actually need to restart, if you will. Or like, I'm actually right at this moment, I am drinking a lemon pure leaf sugary tea. So
cheater.
I know. I suck.
Well,
I mean, that's just
say that.
No. I do. I mean, that's just a given anyway. I'm a human being.
It just goes to show that this is the issue. This is why we have. I mean, carbonation. That doesn't. I mean, as far as I know, you health nuts out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's I didn't think the carbonation had that much to do with why pop is a negative.
Well, it's only, I mean, it's CO2, so it's like, I mean, I know I went to the dentist and he told me, he was like, well, we got into this conversation, myself and the hygienist, just about like, she was like, oh, do you drink pop? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit here and there and stuff. And she's like, oh, I used to drink diet soda like crazy. She goes, I stopped because that stuff's just like, death in a can. And she said, it's so bad for your teeth. I'm like, well, yeah, the sugar. And the dentist came in and goes, no, actually, the carbonation is actually really bad for your teeth too. So I was not aware of that, because I actually love, and this is going to make me sound snooty. I'm not snooty. I really enjoy Perrier or like, any of the other,
so you're
carbonated waters.
So you're just out of luck. No matter what,
dude, I am out of luck everywhere, because I figured out, like, It's not even because I'm drinking this tea right now, and it's not the sugar that I miss. I don't care about the sugar. It's that carbonation. It's like if you were eating a piece of pizza and you had a glass of water and you had a glass of, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Coke, what have you. You would be more apt to pick up that soda because there's, for some reason, when you take a bite of that pizza and then you take a drink of something, it's just better.
They seem to match.
Oh, it's like, I mean, it's, peanut butter and jelly. It's, whatever and whatever. They work.
Mm-hmm.
They work.
Like salt and vinegar, potato chips, and chocolate milk.
No, not familiar with that one.
Okay.
I'd be like, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Like shrimp and maple syrup. They just go together so well. They're so good.
Or ice cream and beer.
I bet there's somebody out there that probably does enjoy that.
If you do, write in because we got to talk to you.
But the reason we will keep you guys updated unless you guys are just like, look, stop talking. We don't care how much pop you consume. Yeah. Like, just please.
Well, I got to tell on myself though, since people were interested. I mean, the only reason we're talking about it is because we got people who were like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" I did drink pop, but it was diet. See, so for me, it's the opposite. I don't really care about the carbonation thing as long as I've got some sugar. And so I don't hope, I mean, maybe I cheated too under the circumstances, but I think the pact was no sugar. So I guess we kind of revised it for how each of us need it to be. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just flat out say that I'm after this, I have like 3 drinks of my tea left, and then I will go back to no sugar because it's no good anyway. But
we even tried to make this amendment that, okay, what if we only drink soda on the night that we do the podcast? I mean, we do this podcast here in the evening shortly before we release it. And so what if we just make it so, okay, as a reward for going a full week without it, we just do it. But now that
I don't even know if that's a good idea, just because it's like you just went a week without having anything, and it just depends because we will record on different days. Sorry, I was like trying to not burp in the microphone.
But for me, it's like opening Pandora's box. It's like I can. It seems like once you cut it off, it actually seems to go away. It's almost like an out of sight, out of mind thing. I don't think about it a lot. Well, at least after the second day, I didn't think about it a lot. It's all I thought about for the first 2 days. But then now it's like, man, if I have another one, it's like I got to go through that whole process of withdrawal again.
See, to me, it's almost like if you were a heroin addict and you were like, well, I'm not going to have any for 6 days, but I'm going to reward myself on the 7th day and I'm going to shoot up. Like, that's kind of how I say it that way. That's kind of how I feel about it. Cause like this morning I literally had one of those, I got up for work and I'm doing my thing and I get to my truck and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm having like the shakes. Like I need a pop. Like I want one so bad. And I'm like, that sucks because it's not like if I was a heroin addict, there's methadone. If I'm a pop addict, there's no like, Sodathone or something that I can take to like, to ease myself off of it. So I think you're right. The cold turkey is just the way to go.
I kind of got a verification yesterday that just to be done works, and to consider myself done kind of works because yesterday this very kind woman stopped by my office and she had this cooler and she said, "Hey, I just want to know if you can use this," and it is full of Pepsi and root beer and all these ones that I naturally would gravitate towards, and the cooler is just stocked. And because of what I do, at my office, I thought, well, yeah, we can use that sort of thing around here. But I stocked the fridge with all this brand new stash of soda, and I felt fine.
Oh, inside my head when you just mentioned a cooler full of soda, like a volcano went off in my head, fireworks, like every kind of explosion imaginable. It was just like, oh, that sounds wonderful. I just want to dump it all out into a bathtub and just swim in it and just drink it with a straw. Oh my gosh. But actually the reason that we're actually even talking about pop also is there was a little thing that came out a few days ago that some of you might remember.
Re-came out.
What would that be, Rob?
That would be Surge.
Surge!
If you grew up as a young adult in the 90s, you will for sure remember Surge. Now, I gotta ask, why?
I don't know. Well, my guess is, and this will be a topic we talk about later, but I believe nostalgia.
Well, it's got to be nostalgia. But I mean, as far as the thing itself, why? I mean, the most I remember. I mean, I remember drinking this stuff. Um, I was 17 when the stuff came out, and so you have a very different taste palette when you're 17 than it seems like you do any other time of your life.
I just can't imagine it because, like to me, like I've drank Mountain Dew, I've drank Mellow Yellow, I've liked them just fine. But like Surge was just never on my radar. Like I saw it and I saw other people. In fact, I don't even think I've ever even tried it.
Really?
I don't think I've ever had it.
Well, I remember the commercials too. Like it seemed like there was, now they got these like, what is it called? That mud run thing, the Tough Mudder.
Oh yeah.
That all these super fit people can do that I am not able to. I'm not even able to think about it. But it seemed like all the Surge commercials were a bunch of Tough Mudders running around, and I just remember this phrase. It's like, oh well, no, I said I remembered it. Now I can't remember it, but it's like some citrus drink with carbos or something. So it's like right before that whole carb-free craze came out. This is an actual soda that was advertised that it had carbs. So what a change of direction a couple years later when nobody wanted carbs.
Of all the things, and actually I did a little reading about it because Rob said he wanted to talk about it, and I'm amazed at the outpouring of people that are just like, Surge is back. Oh, my life has like meaning again. I don't understand it because
It went away for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't because it didn't go away because it was popular.
No, I mean Mountain Dew. It'd be like Mountain Dew goes away. It's unthinkable that Mountain Dew would go away. They sell how many hundreds of millions of cases of the thing a year.
We'll be flying around like the jets and just, and just like there will still be Mountain Dew.
Right.
I mean, Mountain Dew will never go away. And I mean, think the same thing with like Pepsi or Coke or those.
Even if our vehicles are fueled by it someday, it's still going to be here.
Which you probably could do that now, in all honesty, some of these things. But I actually wanted to bring up, since Rob wanted to talk about Surge, there have been many other sodas, pops, whatever you want to call them, that have actually been around, that just did not work. And, actually I pulled up it's the top 10 discontinued sodas. And I just want to see actually how many Rob has had and if he actually remembers them.
Okay.
Do you remember Coke 2?
Oh, Coke 2. Wait a second. We're not talking about the change in formula, like before they came out with Coca-Cola Classic, are we?
No. It was during it was like during the absolute heyday of the, colossal meeting between Coke and Pepsi.
Like 1985 or something like that?
I mean, it doesn't say, but I mean, it was whenever, when it was, oh, wait, hold on.
Well, I remember the new Coke.
Okay, it was early 80s. And that's like,
yeah, I do.
It's when they changed it from Coke Classic to this.
Well, I think it's when people hated new Coke, they had to make Coke Classic to say, "Oh, hey, we're still making this original formula that you did like."
Well, this is funny because they actually changed. The reason that they changed it is because Coke felt like Pepsi was better, and so they made Coke. I mean, I'm sure if there's anybody listening who's like, "I worked for Coke in the '80s, and you're full of it." No, but I mean, they felt that Pepsi was a better taste, so they changed their Coke to taste like Pepsi, and that was Coke 2. But it was an absolute disaster, and it didn't last very long. I mean,
that's what I remember, because I was just a little kid at the time, so I couldn't for the life of me tell you what it is about. I probably had it because that's kids drink it, but I don't remember anything about it.
I don't remember it at all, and I really don't remember number 9 at all. Like I've never seen it. There was a Hubba Bubba soda.
Hubba. Let me see a picture of it.
Hubba Bubba. It was like the.
No, I don't remember. Well, I remember
like the gum.
Yeah, I had the gum in my pocket probably every day.
Yeah, it's like the gum. I do not remember.
Do they make Hubba Bubba still?
I don't know if they make Hubba Bubba anymore.
The gum, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
That's actually, you know what? I have no idea. That just shows.
We prepped for this podcast.
Let me tell you. Well, I mean, and number 8's kind of weird. Have you ever heard of the Pepsi's Wild Bunch?
Mm-mm.
Apparently, they have one that was Raging Raspberry, Tropical Chill, and Strawberry Burst.
No.
And they like.
When did they come out?
I don't know. This is one of those things where sometimes we're not going to have all the information. But
no, and we also, that might more than anything go to show what corner of the country we grew up in.
Yeah, like I mean, all honesty, this stuff may have never even come out. Like I'm from Southern Indiana originally, and it's like I've never heard of it. But actually, number 7 we've been talking about Surge.
Surge.
But we can talk about.
Let's come back.
We'll come back to Surge. Have you ever heard of Lead? Leed.
No.
Apparently, it was a carbonated lemonade drink that was sold, some places, but it seems like it was only produced and distributed through Coca-Cola in New Zealand and Australia.
And it made the top 10 list?
It made the top 10 list. I've never even heard
Well,
of
I'm not
stuff.
dissing our listeners, because we have listeners from that part of the world. I'm not dissing you guys. I'm just saying.
Okay, here's why we've never heard of it. It was discontinued in 1984. That's why we've never heard of it.
Okay.
But it was like kind of a how do we do like Sprite but with lemonade, and that was kind of their thing.
Because that's actually my wife. Whenever she has the option to, she'll combine Sprite with lemonade at a restaurant or at a soda fountain. That's like her favorite thing.
I was gonna skip the next two because like I remember I've never had either one of these.
Just briefly.
Do you remember number 5 is either Josta or Yosta? I don't remember. I don't know how you pronounce it. It was like back when guarana was the new big thing. Like they're like, and this has guarana in it. And it's like, who cares? Like, okay. And then 4 is Orbits.
That sounds familiar.
It's that soda that had like the little chewy chunks in it.
Oh,
it looked like
yikes.
It almost looked like a what am I thinking of? 70s. You put in your room with your black light.
Oh, the lava
lamps. It looks like a lava lamp. Basically.
No, I did not have that. I must be thinking of the travel people.
I'd seen it, but I'd never had it. Like another cousin of Mountain Dew and Mellow Yellow was Kick. Do you remember Kick?
Oh, why haven't I ever heard of these?
Kick again was not very like that was like a big nerd drink. Like if you were gonna be home playing, I mean, I never did this, but like it just anytime you saw like a movie that had like nerds playing Dungeons and Dragons, they're always like they were like popping open Kick, or it was like before Red Bull.
Yeah.
So it was, but it didn't. That stuff.
Well, this makes me think, because all the discontinued sodas I thought would be on this list must not be discontinued, or they were, like I said, they were only popular up in the corner of the country I grew up in. I haven't heard any of these. Well, I've heard of, of course, there's
this next one you've heard of.
Okay.
Which actually I kind of had a big reaction to it when I heard Slice.
Yes.
Slice. I didn't even think about it because like it's been gone for quite a while.
That's one that surprises me that it's discontinued.
Well, because like Slice was different, because Slice was like
tangerine or something.
Yeah, well, it was like Sprite or 7-Up, but it had like an mandarin orange flavor mixed in with it too. I liked it. Like I'm actually kind of shocked that it's gone.
I don't remember I don't distinctly remember.
I remember getting it. I remember getting it out of pop machines when I was a kid, but I don't remember ever buying it from like a store or anything. But number 1,
because they had Slice had a couple different. Did they have a couple different variations of it, or?
I don't know. As you're saying that, I think they might have, but I honestly don't remember.
Okay, I'll forget it.
But so we can wrap this up. Some people are just like, "Good Lord, they're going to talk for an hour about pop." In 1993, the soda that changed my life for about 6 to 8 months.
Yep.
This was like the greatest thing. I was 11 years old when this came out. I was so excited. I could not believe my eyes. Crystal clear Pepsi. Unbelievably good. I loved it. I can't tell you anything about it now. Like I don't remember what it tastes like. The thing I just liked about it was like it's not caramel colored. It doesn't look like pop. It just looks like water. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But I remember it tasted like Pepsi but better.
Well, how long was the run? I mean, how long did they make it?
It wasn't very long. It doesn't say here, but I mean, it wasn't very long. Because I remember, we had a store in my small town back home that kept it on the shelves for maybe 6 months, and it was just like then when they were getting rid of all of it because it got recalled, they were literally selling a 2-liter for $0.25. So I remember I was begging my mom. I was like, please, let's get like 80 of them. I just want them all. And she was just like, no, we can get 4. I'm like, oh, man.
And then they're just as mysteriously as it came.
Oh, it just went away.
Well, I remember Crystal Pepsi because when I honestly don't know if this is when it first came out or when it was first being recalled. But I remember they were giving it away in the mall. And yes, I grew up in a town large enough to have a mall. Um, but they were, and I don't even remember if they were giving away. I mean, that was kind of back in the day when you had 6-packs. Remember, not just a 12-pack case. You actually had those little
it
plastic
had those little
things.
plastic things that like
Yeah.
they were like, if you don't cut them, it's going to kill a seagull or something. So
Yeah, and so they were giving these 6-pack things away by the case, and maybe you should have known me then, because we got cases and cases of these, but they were just giving them away. And so I don't know, maybe it was some sort of radio or local distribution promotion or something. But I remember it, and I remember how it tasted, but I don't know how to describe how things taste, so I'm not going to try.
yeah, I don't know. I just remember it being like, it was just a magical thing. It was just one of those things that as a kid you're just like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever had. And actually, as a kid, since I'm talking about kids, I actually want to segue. We actually will touch back on the surge and the nostalgia of it.
Sure.
But actually, Rob and I both not too long ago just got back from camping.
Oh,
Not together.
No.
But I actually just want to see. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we could talk about that. I'm going to just make a note here. I keep a notepad here as we do the podcast.
All right. Well, as Rob's taking notes, I will just kind of explain. I actually took my family camping to Wiley Park in Aberdeen, South Dakota, and it was really cool. Like, it was one of those places where you're camping, but you're not really roughing it. Like, it's an actual campground. But, they have like they've got a picnic table there for each spot. They've got a grill. They've got a little, or not a grill, but like, like a one that you'd find at like a park or something. It's just like the big heavy steel one or whatever.
You got to like use some sort of toxic chemical to clean off before you use.
And
or risk it.
Usually, I know as a
Risk
kid, we just risk, like, it just adds to the flavor. But, so we pull in, and, there's even like a little thing there that has electricity, so you can blow up, we have an air mattress because we like to rough it. And, but, we got everything set up, and it's a cool place, right down the road's the bathroom, the shower, and all that stuff. But what's cool about this place is it's got, it's for every age. So like, if you just want to hang out and chill by the fire, which is like my favorite thing to do, you can do that. There's also like a little bit of an amusement park there, not like an amusement park, but there's little race car buggy things that kids can race. There's like these big trampolines. There's a water park there. And then the thing that my family did the most was, my wife and I have a 3.5-year-old. We took him to Storybook Land. Now,
Nice.
Storybook Land, it's something I think your daughter would really dig. It's basically, it's all your favorite like nursery rhymes, or like, little kid books like The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's all these things come to life. So literally, when you walk into the park, you're walking on the yellow brick road.
Nice.
So like, I couldn't help myself. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
just whatever, I'm singing along. My wife's like, this is so embarrassing. But, we get in there, we're following the yellow brick road, and I cannot believe me the amount of times my wife probably rolled her eyes and like, well, the yellow brick road, and just, I'm amazed. I'm amazed that I have a wife still. But we get in there and we're looking around, and like I said, you run into like, there's like Santa's house. There's like the old woman who lived in a shoe. There's like Jack and the Beanstalk and all this stuff. And, we start approaching, we're going down the yellow brick road, and we see the trees from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, the talking trees.
The ones, she grabs the apple, and they're all like,
Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, get off my apples, whatever. And
are you saying my apples ain't what they ought to be?
So like, we get there, and we're looking around, and we're waiting for them to do something, because like, clearly we're looking at these things and they look like they're going to do something. So my wife just happens to see, and I don't know if they provide these or if somebody just brought some apples with them or something, but there was like a couple of like half-eaten apples that were just laying on the ground. So my wife picks one up, throws it at the tree.
Nice.
And all of a sudden it just goes, and just starts like talking in like some sort of like seventh circle of hell kind of voice. And my son, all 3.5 years of him, looks up at this tree and freaks out.
Man.
And I mean, I have never seen, like, I've seen pure terror in movies or in like but
this was it.
This was, I have never. His eyes grew like 27 sizes. They were bigger than his head, and he freaked out.
Oh, no.
And he took off running. No, Daddy, no, 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 no. And I ran beside him like, it's okay, but he's like, no, Daddy, no, no, the tree, no, no. And he just, I mean, just
Man, poor
flipped
guy.
out. And so I picked him up and I was like, dude, it's okay. He's like, no, Daddy, no, 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 no.
kid.
Oh, it was just terrible, dude. And like I had to carry him for like 35 minutes because he would not get down. And I couldn't help myself but laugh because it was like, it wasn't funny,
No, but it's
just like, I've never seen, like his reaction to that tree was like, you know, if Freddy,
it's probably
if,
exactly
like,
what it was
if
supposed
we-
to be.
Yeah, if we were walking around and like Freddy Krueger walked up to us and we're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is not real. And then
Yeah.
like pulls out his blade, we're like, nope, it's real. And
Yeah.
you know, it just, I can't even imagine
Holy
it.
smokes.
But it was a lot of fun. You know, we did, like I said, we did the water park.
Mhm.
We did some camp. We camped for a couple nights. And the thing that I was most happy about is I'm not a big camper. My wife is a big camper, but we tried it and it worked out well. We wanted to take him. We're actually going again next weekend.
Okay.
Camping, but we wanted to, this was kind of a trial run to see how he would,
Yeah.
you know,
How does he
react
do?
to it. And he did really well. So we're like, all right. But the one thing I will say about this park that I had never seen before, that I'm not familiar with. Now, I took my son to go to the bathroom, and I was like, all right, well, you need to go with mommy. Daddy needs to go to the bathroom now. I need to go number 2.
Uh-huh.
And so I wasn't paying attention as I turned on the light. There was like a little, it was almost like a timer switch. Well, actually it is a timer, but
Mhm.
I didn't notice that. Like I just turned it on and I was like, okay, you need to go with mommy now. And so I go in and I noticed that there's this timer right next to the door, and that was the light switch. And I'm looking at it and it's slowly winding down.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to have anxiety because I'm like, hold on, I can't just relax and go to the bathroom. Like I literally, like
You're timed.
you're timed for 10 minutes. And if you're not done, you're in the dark.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that before. And I mean, I'm assuming it's because they don't want somebody in there just like, you know, listening to an audio book or like doing their taxes while they're in there. But I'm just like, I just couldn't believe, like I literally, because it's one of those things where I admit, I don't know, and we won't touch on this a lot, but like, I don't know your bathroom habits. Like mine, if I'm going to do that activity, I don't just get in and go. Like I just take my time. Like I've been known to check email on my phone. I've been known to play a game, or like, you know, my wife's like in there like, I'm raising your son and making dinner. Are you coming out anytime soon? I'm like, yeah, I'll be out there. But this literally gave me like anxiety for a quick second. Like I'm like looking at this timer and I can like hear this like orchestra in the background just like playing like this like really intense music, like just kind of like a suspense thriller, like a guy sitting there with a bomb and he's got the cutters in his hand and he's looking at the red wire, he's looking at the green wire, he's looking at the red wire, and he's like, and exactly, and it's just and I'm just like, I just want to go to the bathroom, and like it actually made it harder to go.
Oh no.
So I'm just like, but literally I think I ended up having like, I'm not sure, it was at the 1 minute mark, so I probably had seconds left. But it was,
but you made it.
But I made it. It was like definitely one of those, I cut the right wire.
Man.
It was the red wire and I cut it. But it was,
I didn't know we were going to be talking about bathroom habits. Otherwise, I would prep for this podcast a little differently.
Not at all. But anyway, but we had a good time overall. Good. Oh, I will touch on this again. I talked about the tree, the trees, the trees. So we go back the next day, and my son is very hesitant to go in because he knows.
Understandable.
And so we go in, and we decide we're going to take another route. So we take another route where you don't have to go past the trees, and there is a Jack and the Beanstalk little exhibit. Like it's basically like a big beanstalk, and like Jack's climbing down it, and there's like a cloud attached to the top. Yeah. But what you can do is there's a little button, and you push it, and then all of a sudden you hear, and I'm just like, oh no, man. And all of a sudden I see my son, I look down, he's like, no, and he just grabs my leg, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, and what's funny about it is like my first impulse wasn't to be like, dude, get over it. My first impulse was like, I yelled at the park. Like I didn't even yell at a person. I yelled at the park. I'm like, hey, let's try making him sound different. Like we don't have to have the same voice actor to do all of them. It's like, hey, here are the trees. Here's Jack the Beanstalk. Here's Alice in Wonderland. No, let's vary it up a little bit.
Maybe it makes sense because, you know, all those old fairy tales and stuff weren't they like written as like cautionary tales? I mean, when you think about Rockabye Baby on the Train, at some point, all this beautiful babyland stuff falls down.
Yeah, but like Rockabye, that's a sick lullaby,
I
though.
think they all are. I mean,
Because, like, first of all, why in the world would you ever put? Why
a
is a kid
baby
in the
on a
tree?
treetop.
Why is a kid in the tree? And first of all, and are you in the tree with him as you're rocking him?
So if you are, it's willful. What do they call that? Endangerment. And if it's not, then it's neglect. I don't know. Like even Little Red Riding Hood. Like does she get eaten at the end, or what happens? I forget. But it's like all these.
I don't remember.
Well,
she
at
doesn't get
least the
eaten,
grandma does. And
yeah,
so,
the grandma gets eaten.
Yeah. So I mean, all these fairy tales. I mean, maybe all this traumatic fairy tale land stuff or storybook land stuff is actually maybe more true to the original intent.
It's weird because they're just like, all right, so we're going to sit down, we're going to have a nice story time, and we're going to tell you why life is terrible and why you will never succeed at anything, and everything in the world bad will happen to you all the time.
Good grief.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. But I'm Bogart in the mic. Where did you go, sir?
We went to now I went with my father-in-law, some of my wife's cousins. I went with my own cousin, my two sons, and my brother, and my brother's brother-in-law, but not the same brother that
Good
came.
Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
This is my second cousin-in-law, twice removed, and then my sister's best friend whose aunt was.
We did laugh about it because it's like, I think we traced that everybody who was along was connected to somebody on the trip as a relative, but not everybody was connected. Anyway, we went to the Cloud Peak Wilderness in Wyoming, which is right along the north central border, like right before you go into Montana. It's the Bighorn Mountain Range, which is right on the Wyoming Montana border, and this was some pretty rugged territory. Now, I had dreams, since we're talking about kids too. I had dreams ever since I was like 9 or 10 years old, to go roughing it, like actually roughing it and even when I was that young, I had picked out a mountain range that I wanted to go to that was actually just a couple. Well, we're talking about Montana here, so I would say it's not a long distance, but it is really still hundreds of miles away, but relatively close as far as mountain ranges are concerned. I wanted to go to the Beartooth Mountains when I was a kid. Well, this is the Bighorn Mountains, and they're right next to each other on the map. But anyway, so this is kind of like, this is what I always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And here I've got an opportunity to share the experience with my two boys, who are both around 10 or 12 years old here. And so, so we drive into Wyoming, and we drive up this awesome, mountain highway. And then we take this little road. This is just this little wilderness ranger road. And that empties into some farm ranchers road that isn't maintained, and was kind of hilarious to ride on. And so we're always going up. We're always riding up, we're going up and down, but generally climbing into these mountains. And I can't remember it took an hour and a half to 2 hours or something like that for us to reach our trailhead. And we're at something like 9,000 feet. And then the hike that we needed to go on to get up to our campsite, we're going to be camping at this awesome lake called Cliff Lake, and it's at the base of a 700-foot cliff. I mean, the cliff drops down into this crystal clear lake, so it's pretty obvious why this is the spot. Well, it's awesome, but here's the thing: is that it's 9 miles from the trailhead. If any of you guys who are on that hike with me, I'm just going to admit it. That was pretty brutal for me.
In all honesty, like, that's why we kind of have to go back and forth talking. It's like, we'll start talking and we're like, you got to take over. I'm talking too much.
We're just winded here. Well, I had this idea originally, like, you know what? I think I'm going to go over. I had something downloaded on my phone that I was going to kind of glance at and memorize as we walked along. And it's like, as soon as I was excited too about going with my brother, and I thought, we're gonna have some good conversations. And I realized within the first couple steps up this mountain that nope,
there's not gonna be a lot of talking going on.
There's not gonna be any talking going on. I'm going to be concentrating for the next 7 hours on not dying from some sort of massive heart failure.
I said the only talking that's going on is like, can you wait?
Well, it's more like somebody stops, and it was not everybody. Some of these guys just cruise straight up the mountain. I don't get it. What did they do to acclimate themselves to this. What did they do for conditioning? I have no. I
I'm
probably
gonna,
don't want to do
I
it.
say I'm gonna interrupt you briefly just because
Do it.
I went to Denver, Colorado,
Yeah.
and went up Pikes Peak, and we actually went. I think we went hiking. So I think it was called Red Rock. But you're exactly right. Like I'm going up there. I'm with a friend and his uncle, and we're going up, and Pikes Peak is like
Yeah.
14,190 feet or something
Yeah.
like that. But like you get up, you cannot breathe.
Mm-mm.
You're
Mm-mm.
dizzy, and like just going up like a few thousand feet, and you're walking these trails. There's like, but I'm literally like stopping every 50, 100 feet or something because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, good lord, this
Oh,
is really rough.
there's something, and I know that people, if they're like my father-in-law, uh, he was raised in the Montana mountains, and he lived there most of his life, and maybe it's like riding a bike. It's just something in your DNA. It just kind of sticks with him. He's a mountain guy. This makes total sense why he can be roaming around these mountains. He didn't seem to be bothered by the altitude or the strength. I mean, our packs that we're carrying are 70 pounds, by the way. And so he just didn't, all these other guys didn't seem to be bothered by this, but me and my brother, we kind of struggled with this because, well, for me, my experience was if we were, and it was a while before it hit me this hard, but after we got in a couple miles, if we were ascending, like I said, we're ascending into a mountain, so we were ascending all the time. But it's always up and down. Like you have parts where you go down into this valley, and then you meander your way back up this other mountain, and then you go down again. But anyway, anytime that we were ascending, it's like I only had to take a couple steps going up, and my heart rate shot up, and I think I counted at one point that I was up near 200 beats per minute, and all I had to be doing was ascending. It's not like I was running for it. If I was, if I'm taking my time, just all right, one foot in front of the other, I could maybe go, maybe I could go 100 paces, but I had to stop. That was how the last hour went for me.
I'm just amazed because there are people, like you said, I mean, there are people that do this all the
Uh-huh.
time. Like there were people that were literally in their 70s that were
Yeah.
on bikes that were like just rolling past us. I mean,
Mm.
going at least 15, 20 miles. Just burning past
On
us.
the way
And they're-
up.
on the way up, on the way
Oh,
down.
God.
I mean, they're just rolling, and I'm like, how in the world? Because like, I mean, I would like to think that I'm in better shape than most 70-year-olds. I'm not.
Well, and I kind of hear the self-deprecating thing. I actually went into it because, like I said in the last podcast, I spent 20 years in construction, and there's something you kind of develop when you're self-employed, like I was. You kind of have this can-do. You really do develop a can-do attitude, and it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter how much work it is. I'm just gonna keep plodding away until it's done, and so it really wasn't a matter of work ethic. I didn't think, but I really did underestimate how strenuous this would be, or it was, I don't know, maybe it was the altitude, probably was a combination of them, but I really thought that with just a stick to it attitude, I'm going to be able to do this. And I'd never experienced. I know a lot of people out there have. My wife is a heart patient herself, so that's something that I'm well aware of, the reality that sometimes somebody's heart just keeps them from being able to do something. It doesn't matter what their attitude about it is. And so this is the first time that I've ever actually experienced it myself, and it was so.
You were the little Rob that could.
No, I was not.
You're the Rob that could not.
I mean, if you can say, it was like, yeah, I did make it to camp. Yeah, we did spend a couple days up there in the wilderness, and there was a while there where anybody who would have seen me was like, this guy can't do this. But there's something about the experience that I when I was up that first evening when we arrived, I thought, there's no way I'm ever doing this again. No way. And I actually don't think that I could have made it down the next day. If it was a matter of turning around the next morning and making it all the way back down, I don't think I could have made that hike back down if my life depended on it. That's how strenuous it was for me. But even then, as convinced as I was at that time that I didn't want to do it, I almost can't wait to go back. And I want to take you with me because I think we'd get some great material out of it for podcast.
It would just be hours of us going, so we went about 400
We
feet.
take a recorder with us,
And we went 400 feet, and we're going to make camp for the night. We've been walking for about 13 minutes.
If we took a recorder with us and we did that talking head thing, whatever the audio version of it is, and we were honest about it, I think we'd go viral.
it's well, and the thing is, like, this is not like an abnormal thing. I mean, there are people that camp and hike,
There's people that do it all
and
the
there are people
time.
that do it
All the time.
all the
Well,
time.
just there was a wilderness ranger. Now, one of the exciting things about this, and guys, I hope you're listening to this podcast, because I just want to brag. We had two guys in our group that decided, you know what, we're camped at the bottom of the 700-foot cliff, and just off in the distance, it doesn't look like it's that far away, but there's this mountain that you could walk up, and then from there you could go hiking into the real mountains. Like, we're already at like 10,000 feet, but there's there's this other peak. It's called Blacktooth, and it's up near 13. I think it actually is over 13,000 feet, and it's another 7 miles. We climbed 9 miles to go 1,000 feet up. We're talking about 7 miles to go an additional 3,000, and these guys just went and did it. So they packed up and they left in the morning, and but we ended up getting some, you know, this is late summer. They ended up getting winter weather up there, and they couldn't really, they never did get it all the way up there, but I have to hand it to them. They did what they could, and I can't imagine.
Well, and you guys had some weather yourselves. In fact, I actually saw a picture.
we did.
Your tent did not do so well.
My tent did not do so well. I don't want to talk about it.
But literally, I was like, "So how's your camp?" She's like,
Well,
the tent and that
the tent.
break it and run
Well, the tent. Yeah, the tent. It was unfortunate. But anyway, when we got back down, because my tent let all this winter weather in, me and my boys and my brother, who were depending on this tent, all left a day earlier than what we had originally were scheduled for. And so we get down to the back down to the trailhead, and right there's this wilderness ranger, and this guy was awesome. I mean, he's like 6'7". He, you know, I've easily got 40 pounds on this guy, but he's still all muscle. This guy was awesome to look at.
You walk down and like he's just got the light from heaven shining on you.
Well, he just looked like he looked like like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
He's like, "Hello, I'm Ranger Rick."
I'll forget what his name is, but yeah, it was. But I had agreed with to tell. We'd conferenced about it. Those of us who were up at camp. Okay, we're going back down. What do we do about those guys who are stuck up at Blacktooth with the winter weather? Should I tell the Rangers? What do we, because we don't know if there's no cell service up there. There's no, we had radios, but they don't go that far. And they're supposed to go that far, but they never do. And we didn't know if those guys up in Blacktooth were okay. Like there's no way of knowing. So I was going to go down and I was going to tell the ranger station that, okay, we've got this other group up there and here's the situation. And anyway, I run into this ranger guy at the bottom at the trailhead, and I'm super happy to see him because now I don't have to stop in at the ranger station as we drive home. And so as we're talking, he's saying, well, yeah, let us know, call this number if after another, if 24 hours goes by after you expected to hear from him, then give this number a call. I said, what do you guys do? You go up there on like 4 wheels? And he goes, no, we just walk up there. I'm like, I cannot relate to that. I cannot relate. But then, like I said, this guy looked, he was awesome.
The visual I have in my head is like, you're like leaving, you're like, you see him, you're just like, hi, Ranger Rick. Like you're like you're like a 14-year-old girl who like meets a member of One Direction. Like you're leaving, you're like, bye, Ranger Rick.
It is kind of like that, like
you.
As a musician, as a guitar player, it's like if I were to go to a concert and see Eddie Van Halen or something, there is definitely a difference between the way I perceive myself and the way I perceive Eddie Van Halen. And so having just walked down this mountain, I can tell from about 150 feet away that this guy is the real mountain hiker. And I am like the guy at the concert who knows very well just by looking and listening the difference between me and Eddie Van Halen. And so that's kind of what the experience was like. For me, I cannot relate. Oh yeah, I'm just going to hike into the mountain and go find these guys.
When you're just like, hi, Ranger Rick, I'm City Rob. You're awesome. Yeah,
so Ranger Rick or whatever your name, I
like that. I just like Ranger Rick.
Ranger Rick. Reason. If you're listening to this, and I hope you are, I'm inspired I would like to. I really would. I'd like to do that hike again. I'd like to take my boys. I'd like to take my younger boy, as we decided that he shouldn't go. But now I think, if we took our time, part of it is if I took my younger boy, then I would have a really good excuse to take a lot more time getting up there.
Exactly.
And so I would, but I mean, part of the challenge would be actually, this whole pop thing is included in this moratorium on drinking sugar. That maybe next time I could get acclimated enough to not have to take so many breaks going up.
Well, and we did mention, let's get back to, like, I didn't even realize this, man, it goes so fast when you're just talking about stuff, but we wanted to get back to the nostalgia of it all.
I'd love to.
It's crazy because nostalgia is a funny thing because again, with this surge thing, it's like, oh man, a piece of my childhood is back. I mean, not my childhood, but
somebody's,
but it's crazy because, like, to me, nostalgia is almost like a lie, because it's like a falsehood, because we were talking about, Rob and I always tend to talk about music or movies or whatever, but we were just kind of talking about, oh, remember this movie or remember that movie. Like, for me, a good one would be, and nobody judge me, whatever, but Fight Club. Fight Club was one of those movies when I was a kid. I was like, this is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yep.
And then I watch it now as an adult, and I'm just like, I get why I liked it then. Man, it's hard to sit through now.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's a nostalgia thing. I mean, it's just like, or, my son really likes, because I'm a horrible father. I don't want to watch what my son likes. I'm like, I don't want to watch Jake and the Neverland Pirates. I don't want to watch Barney. I don't want to watch this. I'm like, dude, I was like, this is what Dad used to watch when he was a kid. Let's watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon, the awesome cartoon. And so I put it on, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, this is rough. I mean, it's good.
So,
but it's just
James and the Neverland Pilots is probably far more
Jake
creative.
Jake is actually far more, like, the animation is better. Like, it's the animation where, like, the turtles move, but nothing in the background does and stuff like that. But it's just like, it's the nostalgia, because you just remember going, man, this was the greatest cartoon ever made when I was a kid. And it's just, to me, it's just like, again, nostalgia just seems like a lie.
Well, as I'm thinking about it, one of the things Surge it has to be a nostalgia thing, because I mean, the stuff only lasted. It was only on the market for like 6 years or something like that, and so it got discontinued for a reason. And if it went away forever, it's not like, at least I can't perceive that Coke is like, what, that was such a big hit, let's re-release it for this generation, because they're gonna love it. The generation, I would consider the Surge generation to be my generation.
Yeah,
People
definitely our generation.
30 to 35 years old.
Yeah.
We're the ones who were teenagers when the stuff was being made. I mean, it's not like this generation is going to get it where our generation just really didn't. So somebody's trying to bring this back by popular demand, even though it wasn't popular in its day. I really don't get it. It's kind of like,
I don't understand it all. I don't understand all, because, like, it's one of those things where, like, a perfect example is, I still love the original Nintendo. I've
got one over here in the other room.
Love it. But, like,
it's not like that though.
Well, we'll have other, I'll tell you why it's like that. We'll have other kids at the house of, my wife's friends' kids or something, or your kids.
Yeah.
And, your kids like the Nintendo. That's a little different.
Well, they grew up with it. Yeah. I've always had one.
Exactly. Around. So, like, these other kids that come over to the house, they just look at it and they're like,
what is that?
What is this gray box? I don't understand. And they're like, no, check it out. And I put on, like, Legend of Zelda or, like, Mario or something. Yes. And they're just like, this is so dumb. Why does this look funny? Like, they're like, do you have a PS4? I'm like, no, dude, no, this is bad. Well, I imagine right now people are going, it is not better than a PS. Well, like, I don't know.
Let's open that box.
But it's just like, it's the nostalgia though, because but to me though, I can still sit down, like certain ones like Legend of Zelda, I can easily sit down and start playing that.
In their defense, I mean, I had the opportunity to show, because I've got this original Nintendo here in my office, which is connected to this studio, by the way. So just over here in the other room, like I said, and I had an opportunity to show the original Mario Brothers to a group of kids who were between the ages of 12 and 16. There were probably 4 or 5 of them. And I think they loved it. Either that or they're being polite, but kids that age aren't used to being polite. or for the sake of being polite anyway. And so I think they really liked it, but the thing that was really, really gratifying is they could not do anything. I mean, it was like watching myself when I was, now Nintendo, I first played Super Mario Brothers. I was probably 7 or 8, and it reminded me of my first times. And I hadn't seen that. No, it's so funny. I hadn't seen that level of ineptness that comes from that kind of experience on that game for 20 years.
And see, it would be the equivalent of us like picking up like an Xbox 360 and trying to play some complicated game and going, I don't even know what to do with this.
There's this game that, and I'm just going to show how techie I am right now and how up on things I am. What is that? The Clash of Clans.
Oh, the little app on your phone. I actually have that on my phone right now.
Yeah, it's an app on the phone, but I think you can get a PC or Mac version of it or something. But somebody was playing this and was showing me like a year ago, and it's like, I cannot fathom keeping track of that much stuff all at once.
Like anything. I tried to play WoW. I tried to play World of Warcraft once.
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff that you have to keep track of, like, I'm just like, I can't do this. This is so dumb. And like, but that's what's weird to me is like, do you remember playing like, and it was like on the old Apple IIs and stuff, like just playing like Oregon Trail?
No, I never did.
You never played Oregon? Okay. So like Oregon Trail, like you're basically, you have a wagon and you're pulling it along or whatever. And you like choose like, whether you want like 2 girls or 2 boys or 5, I don't remember exactly, but you just choose like how you want your family to be and what you're good at, I think, and stuff like that. But like as you're going, it's like you're going down the trail. Oh, a snake spooked the horses and broke this wagon wheel. So then you have to like fix it. But it's literally just like, it's like a little green screen with just like basically words, and occasionally like a picture of a cow will come up on the screen.
Oh yeah, I remember those kind of games. King's Quest. Remember
King's Quest? See, exactly. Or like
you're not actually in control of what's going on. You just have a series of options.
What was I remember in 6th grade, our teacher had one in the corner, and if you finished your math homework or your work like really quick, you could go play on the computer. And she had games like, do you remember Number Muncher? Did you ever play Number Muncher?
Yes.
Like it was just like this little Hubert Pac-Man guy, and like if you like, I don't remember how you played. I just remember he ate numbers, like if you got like an equation right or something. Yep. And I look at that now and I'm like, how did we think that was fun at all?
But Mario and I mean, yeah, we have this really old school pathetic version of what was fun about a video game. But then there were those brilliant platforms that came out like Mario and the original Legend of Zelda that I really think that those are true classics. They're really there to stay, and they don't necessarily need a cult following, because every video game that's ever come about since is kind of based on that platform.
Well, exactly.
One or the other.
Well, I mean, and we used to own. What's funny is I never owned an Atari like when they came out. I mean, like we picked up one, I think, for like $15 at a yard sale when I was a kid, and it had like, I mean, it literally had like 4 paddles, like a few joysticks, and like 20 games. It was like one of those like rare finds. It's like if you go to a yard sale and you're just like, holy cow, you're like, I have to buy this. I absolutely have to buy it. So like that night we got it hooked up on the TV and we're playing Pac-Man and we're playing Pong. Like Pong is literally 2 rectangles and a square.
Yep.
And you just hit the square back and forth with the rectangle. I'm like, how is this fun? But it was.
It kind of was. I'm just old enough to remember when Nintendo hit the United States market. We weren't like the first ones in line to buy it or anything, but I'm just old enough to remember that the first time I did play one, I was like, wow, this is like Atari. Except it's better, more colors.
Dude, it was I've gotten presents over the years. I'm 32 years old. I've gotten presents since I was, 1 or whatever. That was probably the single greatest thing I ever got. I think I want to say no, sorry, the Nintendo. Oh. I think I was 8 because I think it was 1990. And
so this is pre-Super Nintendo.
This is pre-Super, and I was just like, this is the greatest thing. I remember, like, I'm thinking of a picture in my head because there were pictures of me playing it Christmas morning. I literally woke my parents up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, we got to go downstairs, no presents. We got to go open presents. And like, I'm wearing like, how like when you're a kid, you have like the matching shirt and pants for your sleepwear. Yep. I'm like wearing that, and then I'm wearing like these giant bare feet, like slippers or whatever.
We all had them.
And I'm sitting there cross-legged, and I'm just like staring at the screen, like it's I mean, you would have thought that I saw God in this TV screen, and I'm not being
many have
oh,
seen
dude,
their God.
It's insane because I mean, nothing mattered. Nothing mattered at that moment. It was just like myself and this screen and this controller. Like, this is all that matters at this moment. And that actually became a point of contention with my mother because there was once upon a time, I remember I had only had it probably for a few months because it had to have been at least 5-6 months because it was starting to get warm outside. I remember that. And she's like, okay, you need to come and eat dinner. And I'm like, hold on just 1 second. Like, I think I was playing Wizards and Warriors. I don't know if you remember that game, but like, I was literally at the last boss, and for some reason, I actually don't remember. I'm sure you probably could pause. I have no idea. I don't remember. It's
some of them couldn't. Some of them never could.
Some of them you get to a certain part or something, like it won't let you pause. And so I'm just like, I can't stop. I'm at the last guy. Please just let me finish. And so I'm just like, I just kind of ignore her. She's like, come and eat dinner. Come and eat dinner. And like, dude, I'm going to beat this game. Like, I'm literally seconds away from beating this game. And my mom walks in and shuts the thing off. And I went from 0 to 60, and I'm just like, ah! And I threw the controller, and the controller, of course, is attached to the Nintendo. So as soon as the controller goes flying, there goes the Nintendo off of the. Of course, and this is when, like, you know, we didn't have anything fancy. We just had like a normal, probably 27-inch TV or something, and it's like sitting on top of it.
That'd have been a big TV at the time.
Dude, it sucked though, because like, there goes the Nintendo on the floor, there goes the controller. I don't know, maybe this is weird, and if anybody's listening to this, maybe you've done this. I used to chew on the controller. Like, I used to get mad and chew on the controller. I sound like a dog now. It's like, I would literally get mad. I'm like, I would be playing Mega Man or something. I'd die, and I'd be like, oh, and I'd chew on the controller for some stupid reason.
Cannot relate.
I remember going to a few people's houses, and I'm like, oh, you've got teeth marks on yours too. Okay, good. I'm not completely abnormal, but I didn't suffice to say, I didn't see my Nintendo for a year.
Oh no.
So that was not fun.
When it came to, I read this just recently, like a couple months ago, and it's very gratifying for nostalgia's sake, that some poll, they polled like some number of professional video game people, and they wanted to know what is the number one video game of all time.
Number one video game of all time.
Number one.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Can I guess? Okay, wait. Give me one clue that wouldn't give it away. Well, let me make a guess first.
Okay.
And then the number one game of all time.
Now, and just to preface it, I cannot remember what publication it was that said this, and I'm sure there's going to be people who are like, no, Rob and Ben and you guys, this is not the number one game of all time. And that's all right. If you guys want to chime in on it,
it's the number one game from this publication's opinion.
And I wish I could remember it.
Because it's subjective. Like,
it's very subjective.
We could all go, this is the best game ever, and we're not gamers.
I'm bringing it up under the subject of nostalgia because of how gratifying it was to hear this. So go ahead, take your stab. That's probably the clue I should give you.
Wait, what was the clue?
Well, that it's a nostalgic win. It's like, yes, I feel
you were
gratified that this is the number one game.
I'm gonna guess the original Legend of Zelda.
That is exactly right.
See, that's
number one video game of all time according to someone, or some poll of experts of some sort. And so for me, under the subject of nostalgia, that was extremely gratifying, because here I never owned Legend of Zelda. We always only rented it. So we had it, this was back in the day when you actually had to go to a store and search through all the available titles, and they actually had to have it present, and you had to bring it up to the counter and say, I'd like to rent this, please. And so,
see, that's we didn't even have to say that we were in our early 30s. Like, that just gave it away. Like,
absolutely.
Because you could, like, you used to go to, you could go to, did you get yours from, like, a video store? But I remember you could also get them, like, certain supermarkets and stuff would have, like,
supermarkets had
like little sections, and they were in the little plastic Nintendo cases. Or actually, some of them would just have, like, the case with, like, the booklet in it or something.
But they'd have a black and white photocopy of the...
Yeah, that way, and then when you took it up to the counter, then they would put the game. Isn't that weird to think about?
Yeah,
a
they
Nintendo
didn't have
game. You used to spend $2 or $3 to rent a Nintendo game.
I think it was 99 cents where we rented them from, but you can only have them overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of back in the day when 99 cents was more like $3.99 now or something like that. It's actually, you kind of did have to think about, it's like, is this what I want to spend 99 cents on? And do I really want to rent Legend of Zelda again? And so here, when you rent Legend of Zelda, when you bring it back to the store, they must have like popped it in and just wiped it, because I swear we rented the exact same video game cartridge like within the next 2 days, because we needed to make progress. That's how we felt. When we need to make progress on this game, and the whole thing was just wiped clean. And so we never got a chance to save it. So we would rent this game, and we would only get to like, out of 9 bosses, we'd get through like maybe 6 or 7. And so it was torturesome. And so I'm thinking about this mostly because, and I'm gratified with it because with all these complex games right now, that Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, is decently difficult, and you really do have to, process the game intelligently. And then once you do beat it, it mixes it all up and makes you start all over again, and nothing.
And there's nothing more frustrating. Like I could always, the game itself is it's not all that hard. If you follow the steps that that you're supposed, like once you've beat it once, you're like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do now. But, or I mean, just if you played it again, from the beginning,
the game works the same.
But then once you, like, I would get to Ganon, the very last, the last dude, and I would just get my butt whooped or something. I was like, this game's stupid. Yeah. And then, as an adult, I could probably play it. I could probably sit down and play it now and have no problem. But
well, Legend of Zelda was one of those. It really took a serious amount of patience to be able to. I mean, because once you die, if you get all the way to the last guy, and when I finally beat him, I think I was 27, and I was playing it. You can actually stream that game online now, and if you want to save it, you just hit save, and it emails you a code that next time you go into that game, you just punch that code and it brings it back up to where you were. And so I finally beat it, and I beat it. If you know how Legend of Zelda works, every time you get attacked, it takes away a half of a heart. Like you get that heart, the health signal.
Or it takes you down, if you can have like, I don't remember how many, it's like 20 hearts or something, like when you have all of them, but then it takes you all the way down to like 3, like when you start over.
Right. Well, but I mean, even when you get, even when you come back to your saved game or wherever it was you saved it at, let's say you saved it right before you go into the boss's castle, and you've got all the 20 hearts and you're full of hearts, and your hearts are all full. That means that every time you get hit by a bad guy or a bad guy's weapon, it goes down half a heart. So you really got 40 hits that you can take before you're dead. Which
sounds like, that's a lot.
But... yeah, but by the time you get to that last boss, I finally I beat him. I don't remember what weapon I had, but whatever weapon I hit him with, he was shooting his weapon at me, and I was going to take the hit, and so it was down. I was down a half a heart, so it was either my weapon hit him first or he hit me, and so I win because mine hit him just a split second before. I actually thought I lost, but the game went through the process of Link raises his arms in victory with the little triangular thing, and anyway, I beat the game, and then. I had never gotten far enough in this game, and I really didn't have a lot of friends that had this game either. Otherwise, I went to rent it, or I just borrowed it, played it at their house or something. So none of my friends happened to have this game back in those days. So I never really knew what happened after you beat this game. So I thought I win. It's like, no, it starts you over, and everything's different. And at that point, I really did have to say
it's just like more difficult, because I think
it is.
If you put in the word Zelda as your name, it like starts you like you already beat it.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that. So but anyway, at that point, I was like, forget it.
See, I was going to say, to go along with the nostalgia and how it's kind of like, I said it was kind of almost like, not necessarily, I mean, it's not a lie, but like there's always part of it where it's like something seems far greater than when you do it again. Because like, for me, the thing that irritates me now as an adult, or even as a kid, is like if you sit down to play a Nintendo game and you beat it, like you're like, especially ones that are hard, because Nintendo for some reason had to make some games that were just like impossible. And then when you finally beat it, the ending was the most disappointing thing that has ever happened.
Mario 2, he's dreaming.
He is dreaming.
Like, you got to be kidding me.
See, I was that one. Yeah, that wasn't an enjoyable one. I remember getting mad at stuff like Punch Out, or like it's just Punch
like Out. Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Well, there's two. There's just Punch Out and Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Okay.
And I remember beating it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I beat it. Like I've still never beat Mike Tyson. That is a tough one. But like, I beat it, and all of a sudden it's like Little Mac was the champion, and it plays some music. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. I just played for 40 minutes, and this is
40 minutes. You beat it in 40 minutes.
That one's a pretty quick one.
Is it?
If you just like go through, it probably wasn't even that long. But
I must not be very good at video games.
I wouldn't say that I'm. I wouldn't say
Well,
that
you gotta
I'm.
be better than me because I never even got to Tyson.
Well, but like we even own. Well, so like Rob mentioned, he's got a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo, and then do you guys?
A Nintendo 64
and a Nintendo 64, which is actually kind of cool. Do you have it? Do you have any other ones at your house?
No.
So you still have old school stuff. My wife bought me a PS3 a couple years ago for Christmas, and that thing has become a $400 Netflix watcher.
Mm-hmm.
So or Amazon Prime watcher. So that's all it's been. 'Cause like I mean, I bought maybe 2 games for it, and then a friend got me like a football game for my birthday, and we played it while he was there, and then I put it away, and I haven't played it since. And we have a Wii, and I'm not even sure why we have a Wii. It just sits there. Again, it's...
By the way, I am keeping a list of all these brand names that we have to contact and get sponsorships from them because we are plugging a lot of brands.
What's going... Do you like the Left to Center podcast? So do we. But guess what else we like? Sony, PlayStation 4. You know, it's like...
Well, we haven't even gotten into cars yet, and I've got a couple more brands I wanted to talk about.
It's
tonight.
like, all right, so let's talk about... you know what this reminds me of like that part in Wayne's World where like they're like going through Pepsi. He's like, it's your choice. Yes. And it's the choice of a new generation. Or like, you know... Or Garth is like wearing nothing but Reebok stuff. He's like, it's like people only do things because they get paid, and that's just really sad.
Now, would you believe I've never seen that movie?
I
never have seen.
Oh my gosh! I guarantee you right now, as people are listening, it's just like, how has he never seen Wayne's World?
No, I mean, you guys are gonna find out through this podcast why I'm as self-deprecating as I am.
You know what, though? In all honesty, I don't even think that... Here's what I'll say, because I know Rob. Here's what I'll say about Rob. It's not, like, believe me, I am actually surprised that Rob's never seen Wayne's World. Yeah. But here's the thing. The amount of times that I've probably watched Wayne's World over 100 times. And Rob, during that time that I spent watching Wayne's World 100 times, has probably done something meaningful or or something or at least something constructive. Like, I'm like, I just watched Wayne's World for the 100th time. Rob's like, I just helped build a hospital in India.
Well, you know, I will say what did happen in my life was from a pretty early age. I ended up having the opportunity to work full time for a relative. That's why, you know, I can say, you know, I'm in my mid 30s and I've been in construction for 20 years. Because I had the opportunity to work for a relative. Well, here it is. I was homeschooled for.
By the way, that's the 4th time, 5th time, 6th time, 7th time that you've hit the microphone.
Sorry. I was homeschooled, so I had the opportunity to take a lot of time. Like, I could work through school at my own pace. So even like 14, 15 years old, I could get my academics done whenever I wanted to, and that allowed me the opportunity to work where I grew up. You could, if you were 14 years old and you had parental consent with a note and all this stuff, you could work for anybody who was a direct relative full time even. So I did, and so here I spent all of my teens working full time in the field that ended up being my career for an additional 10 or 12 years or so. And so I probably did miss out on a lot of things, like a lot of things to bring it back. A lot of things that I would be nostalgic about today had I experienced them when I was a teenager.
Yeah, but there again, though, like I said, there were literally times like, you know, I grew up with a single mother, so it's like during the summer, you know, my mom would be working and I would just be at home by myself. So it's like all I would do is, well, I mean, there were literally summers where I would get up every morning and I would pour myself like a Jethro bowl full of Jethro. I'm referencing the Beverly Hillbillies, like anyone is going to remember that. But I just pour myself like a gigantic bowl of cereal. I sit down and like the first thing I do is I put on Wayne's World, or I put on like, this is weird to me. I think I was like 12. I'd have to check to see when Forrest Gump came out. But I remember for Christmas one year, my mom bought me Forrest Gump, which in hindsight, I'm like, that's a little much for a kid that's not even a teenager, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I was like, I don't know. But I would literally get up.
I'd say so.
There's
some stuff in there.
I don't know if I would show my son at 12 Forrest Gump, but
I would not.
But like,
I would skip through. I mean, maybe I'd let them
Maybe
sit through part where
through
they're like, no, we're not watching.
not the part where they're like doing
Yeah.
drugs or like whatever. But
there's plenty of stuff in there.
plenty of stuff in there. But I just remember that those were big parts of my life, which is, I mean, it's kind of sad to say now. I'm like, so 20 years ago, a big part of my life was getting up and watching Forrest Gump every morning.
Well, but these are the sort of things that we eventually become nostalgic about. We all have the tendency to, I mean, nostalgia is a part of the way we're all made. And so, I mean, I kind of wanted to explore tonight on the podcast, like, wait, what is it? I mean, what you said it was a lie, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. But there's got to be a part of it that's good, and there's a part of it that's bad, and so we see these extremes and surge. Why on earth is it coming back? Nobody liked it when it was made, and if you say you never tried it, just wait till you do.
See, that's the part I'm trying to understand, is because I know maybe. I don't even know a handful of people that likes or like that are just
part of me thinks that they're bringing this back to remind everybody how bad it really was. And for all of those of you who happen to like Surge, that's great, but
you're wrong.
Well,
no, it's all subjective.
It didn't do well enough in the market to make it. So why it's coming back? There must have just been a number of people who this was the thing, that whether it was the commercial, the mud. Mudders and all the, the sports drink or the citrus soda with carbos or something really connected with them. And so if nostalgia can be a good thing and nostalgia can be a bad thing, what is it that makes it important in our lives?
I'm not 100% sure. Actually, while you were talking about it, I actually had something pop into my head. Do you remember, like, first of all, do they still make High C?
I think so.
They still make High C?
I'm pretty sure they do.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to drink the High C Ecto Cooler. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
I think it was like a Mandarin Orange High C, but it had Slimer on the front of it from Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
And so like I just remember like that was so awesome and it was so good, and I'm like, whatever happened? Like they just stopped making it out of nowhere. Like it was just. But yeah, I mean, I think nostalgia. I think for some people, part of it is it brings you back, especially once you get older.
Yeah.
Like when you get into your upper 30s and 40s, like I've noticed people that I know are just like, they're like, oh, I'm going to go see Styx, the band. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. But then they're like, no, you don't understand. When I was 18, it was the first concert I ever went to. And, I think it helps people like, you do hit like, you hit midlife or whatever.
Yep.
And you're just like, you start reminiscing. You're like, oh man, I remember this and I remember this. And I mean, I'm not one of those people. I hated high school, so I'm not one of those people, but like, I imagine firstly, it takes you back to a time, especially when people are like, oh, I was a football player. Oh, I was a cheerleader, or just like, oh, those were the best friends I ever had. And so, I mean, that's to me, like, you hear a song, that's what I think a lot of people like about nostalgia is like, you'll be riding in the car and like, you'll hear, I don't really listen to the radio, but if I turned on the radio, oh man, it's this song. Like this song reminds me of, I remember, I went to go see a movie with this girl, or like me and my buddies were, out doing this or whatever. It's almost like a springboard right into your past.
So it invokes an emotion. And so nostalgia would almost have to be whether nostalgia is a good or bad thing today. And I'm sure there's a combination of the two, or there's an extreme to the two. Whatever it is today is invoking a legit emotion or a legit experience from the past that you've got some sort of something meaningful attached to.
Well, it's like, like right now, like 40 years from now, Rob and I will be sitting like, probably in our own diaper, sitting around going,
Can't wait.
It'll be awesome. But we'll be going, you remember when we did the podcast?
Is that what we were doing?
I don't remember.
I don't know either.
But but we'll reminisce and stuff and be like, oh yeah, that was awesome. Remember the podcast? Like, remember, like, do you remember the podcast? And you'll be like, no, I don't. But I don't know. I mean, to me,
what's a podcast?
Who are you? Get off my lawn. Like, okay, Rob, bye. See you later. I'll see you tomorrow.
Who's Rob?
What is it? There's a.
So yeah, you're probably right. We will have a nostalgic feeling because this is. If you guys can't tell, this is a great experience for us. I'm sure this will be a nostalgic feeling we'll look back on.
It's one of those things where, nostalgia, again, like I think it's a positive and it's a negative because like it's a positive in like, yes, it can take you back to like an awesome time in your life. Like, oh, that was so fun. That was so cool. Or I remember this last year we did this. And, but at the same time, like there are things I don't think it's a lie, but I think it's more of like it's your perception has changed so much, and it's things like, I mean, I can watch my son, like he has had more fun playing in the boxes of things that he gets than actually playing with the things that he gets.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's because as we get older, we tend to lose our imagination or just our creativity, which I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are creative well into their, whatever, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But it's like, a perfect example is like, we'll be driving in the car and I'll hear my son, "Oh, Dad, look, look, look." And he'll point at the sky and I'm like, "What, buddy?" He goes, "Look, a dog." And I'm looking, I'm like, why would there be a dog in the sky? And I'm looking and I look at it and I see a cloud and I'm like, that looks like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable. We'll just keep driving. I'm like, "Yeah, but it looks like a dog." And we'll drive down the road and like, Daddy, what?" And he's like, "A snake." I'm like, "A snake? Where's that?" He goes, "Up there, up there." And I look, I'm like, "Doggone it, that does look like a snake." It's just like, I wonder if that's part of it too, is like, it just, we lose, as we get older, we kind of lose that, we lose that Peter Pan-ness in ourselves,
and try to regain it. Because here's the other thing that, for Surge to come back, it's a mystery to me, but I would not attach any sort of moral to it at all. Like, it's just, okay, some people are like, "Hey, remember Surge?" And somehow, the way the internet is these days, something goes viral and they're like, "Hey, we could bring Surge back." And Coke is thinking we can make $10 million and, it's probably going to go away again. They probably know that. But they can make some money. So there's their motive. And there's probably just enough people are like, "Hey, let's try Surge again."
It makes you wonder if, like, let's say, okay, so like we're going to go back to biblical times. Let's say it's AD. So Jesus has been crucified and he has risen again. He's up in heaven.
Yep.
And you wonder, like, any of his followers, they're just sitting around like let's say, like we would sit around and just talk, like, we're watching a movie, we're eating pizza, and we're just talking about, "Hey, remember this, remember that." It makes you wonder if, like, his followers are sitting around, they're just like, they're eating some bread, they're just chilling, they're like, "Dude, remember all those loaves and fish?" Yeah, that was awesome.
Actually, this tastes just
This
like
tastes
that day.
just like that day, man.
Remember
or
the
like,
day up in that upper room when he like Judas kissed him later?
like,
or something
"Oh,
like that?
dude,
It's like,
yes,
oh, yeah,
I remember that."
This has got to be that recipe. We must have got this bread from the same place.
Or like, they're just sitting around like, "Do you remember Judas?" Man, that guy was such a punk.
Judas, oh man,
What a punk. Like, because I imagine they had to have, right?
Oh God, they had to have.
So it's just like, again, that's, I don't know if that's necessary. That is a form of nostalgia. You're
Oh, absolutely.
you're remembering.
Yeah. I'm sure there's and kind of what here, and I am excited to see if people respond to this one because there, it takes all kinds to make the world go around, and there's a couple things that are just mysterious to me, and one of them is the Surge thing. When it comes to nostalgia, the Surge thing, I don't understand why it's coming back. If anybody remembers it well enough to go, "Hey, Surge," they should remember that it didn't taste very good, or it gave you heartburn for the next 2 days after you took a sip.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. For anybody who loves it, I'm sorry. It's a crappy drink. Like, it just is. Like,
I thought you said you didn't take it. You didn't try it.
Well, I'm going by the statistics. Like there's a real, like, I can like somebody go, "Well, you've never had it before." Well, I don't have to have it. Like, because of the fact that it didn't succeed, it obviously wasn't very good.
Right.
And it's a little different. Again, it is a little subjective, but like, there's a difference between like a television show that goes for 7 years and it gets canceled. That was an insanely successful show.
Sure.
Like, a soft drink that lasts a couple years, that's not successful.
Because there's soft drinks that have lasted well over 100 years. It seems like Coke and Pepsi have been around. If I remember right, they were started by pharmacies in like the late 1800s or something like that, early 1900s. I know they've been around for 100 years or more.
Not only is this Left of Center podcast, we have no actual statistics about half the things we talk about.
See, we're even left of center on the geek stuff in terms of
that's, what's so weird about, I was thinking about it because, like, if you're gonna break it down, like people did in the 50s or 60s or what, it's like, you're a jock, you're a geek, you and I are not. First of all, we're not jocks.
Not jocks.
We're not jocks. And actually, since I'm mentioning jocks, I do want to say, go Bears.
Oh, come on.
Go Bears.
Oh,
the Bears
wow.
The Bears beat the 49ers the other day, dude, and I was so happy. I am a lifelong Bears and Cubs fan, both very depressing. But we're not jocks. We do not play. I played a little bit of sports in high school. Rob probably
I did not.
Rob probably did the stats for the teams.
I didn't. I have no idea how to do it. I attended games
Actually,
where
in episode I have to mention this because this is funny. In episode 1, Rob is actually mentioning something. He's talking about something, and he's talking about sports statistics, and he's talking about basketball. And he's like, I don't know, like how many times the guy dribbles it off his foot. That's probably. I don't think anyone keeps track of that. I mean, that would be a turnover, I suppose.
Maybe it's my friends who played basketball, and I watched their game, and that's what they were talking about. I was like, I can't believe how many times I dribbled. I don't know, something stuck in my mind.
But
I am not
getting back to. But we're not jocks. No. We're not geeks. We're not nerds. And these are all in these. It's funny because all these things, these are not negative things. I don't think they're negative. Like there are plenty of people that are like, yeah, I'm a nerd. Or, yeah, I'm a geek. You and I are dorks.
Yes.
I think that's probably because there are things that we like that are cool.
I agree.
There are things that we do that are cool. Like you can be like, hey, we play instruments. We do this. We do that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like overall, like social, not even social, just like
I get along with people. You really get along with people.
Well, and it's not even that. It's more like pop culture. We're not like pop culture is now gone from us. Like if I put on the radio and they're like, this is a new hit from Zoom, I have no clue.
Never heard of them.
I had never there's some like white rapper girl that just from I think she's from Australia. I'd never heard of her, but like she's like blowing up. Like I just heard them. Like somebody asked me like, oh, have you heard this song? I'm like, I have no idea. How could you not know what this is? I'm like, I don't know.
It wasn't that long ago when I I heard her name. Was like, who's Katy Perry? And it was like the person who told me, like, I was talking with her, like, you got to be kidding me. It's like I didn't know why that name was important. No, who, and like, okay, what genre of celebrity are we even talking about here? I just had no idea. And it was, now let me put it this way, it was embarrassingly recent. If being up on pop culture matters.
It's just like, dude, Rob, you heard Katy Perry? Yeah, I saw her last movie. It was pretty good. So like,
I'd never heard the name. It was like, I don't even know what it is about her that should stand out in my, doesn't ring a bell. And it was you gotta be kidding me. Just like, I mean, kind of like with the Wayne's World thing. But I know what Wayne's World is, though.
Which, you know what? Before one of the podcasts comes out, we have to sit down and watch that.
But then we got to watch Ghostbusters, because I've never seen that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Oh, my gosh. There are literally people that are, like, stopping the podcast to go, are you crazy? Why? Like, how? Oh, I cannot believe you haven't seen Ghost. I forgot about. You know what, though? We're going to stop the podcast right now, and we're going to go watch Wayne's World and Ghostbusters. That's what we're going to do right now.
That's not a bad idea.
So we're going to head out of here and go watch Ghostbusters and Wayne's World. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. We didn't get real deep into like
not at all
spiritual stuff at all. Like I think the most spiritual we got was comparing like some of the apostles sitting around talking nostalgic.
Well, I've been kind of paying a lot of attention to the blog. I want to try to put out a blog thing every day, and so here I can write pages and pages of blog stuff. So follow us on the blog, guys.
Yes. Check out, it's just leftofcenterpodcast.com. And I think it's just /blog. It's something like that. I mean, if you go to leftcenterpodcast.com, it's really easy to find. There. But check out the blogs. Rob's are really good stuff. Like even I read, like Rob's like, I got a blog, post it. And so I'll post it and I'm like, oh, I should sit down and read this. And it's good stuff. And it's stuff that makes you think. Oh yeah, I'll give you compliments, sir.
Thank you.
But like, it's good stuff. It's biblical stuff. It's not, it makes you think. And some of the stuff, in all honesty, you might read it and it might make you mad. It might make you go, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's kind of the point of Rob's blog.
Yeah. Well, and I call it prove me wrong or prove Rob wrong for a reason, is because, I made a couple comments on Twitter and whatnot that, I got to admit it. I deliberately put it out there like a controversial thing, and it really did. It kind of, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who are commenting on the Twitter thing or on Facebook are listeners of this podcast too. So I just want to say thank you too for jumping in there and getting into it with me, because I actually did deliberately set it up in my on Twitter and things like that as a I don't know, it's almost kind of like I picked a fight.
Well, it's like let's have a discussion about this. Let's have a
discussion about it.
Let's all talk about it. Like, I want to hear your point of view. This is my point of view. And if you're checking out Rob's blog, you can definitely check out my blog. And mine, most of the time, is not going to be nearly as serious as Rob's, but that's kind of the reason why this podcast works, I think, is because like I'm kind of that kid with ADD that's just like, I want Rob to stop talking so I can say something that's gonna like be completely off the wall. Like Rob's like, all right, so then in Galatians 4:5 and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, toast, and Rob's like, what? And so like it's just it's a nice thing. Like my blog, there will be spiritual things in there. There will be, I like to put myself. Rob is more like he's really good at just putting stuff out there to make people think and to really kind of delve into the Bible and go, is this right? Is this and all that stuff? Mine's more like,
well, I mean, reading your blog, I really do feel like this it's extremely relational. And as I went back and I read your blog, I'm like, this is extremely relational. Very like it's very inviting into where like you're speaking into a person's life. People should be able to relate to what you're saying, because I think you're hitting on some stuff that we're all either thinking, feeling, or maybe should be thinking or feeling. And I go back and look at mine. It's like, man, I don't think I'm all that much of a personable person as a writer. But anyway, all this to say, you guys, check out our blogs. We would love to have discussions with you guys on Facebook, Twitter, or email.
And actually, you can, and again, we said this last time, but you can email us at mailbag@leftofcenterpodcast.com. We will get back to you.
Yes,
that is an absolute promise. So you can also, if you want to, you can leave us a message on the studio voicemail. The phone number is actually 701-214-4525. So if you just have any questions, or if you're just like, or if you just want to call and be like,
you guys wasted my time.
Yeah, like I listened to this entire podcast and I just want to tell you that I'll never do it again. And
here's why.
I love Katy Perry and tell Robbie's a jerk. So, but like on that note, like we're going to, oh my gosh, we're going to go listen to Katy Perry. We're going to go watch Wayne's World and Ghostbusters, and we're going to go drink a Surge, but not. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Ben Knight.
I'm Rob Roise.